Solving word problems oftentimes is challenging for students, and I think one of the reasons for that is that every word problem is slightly different. So you're not doing exactly the same, exactly the same thing in every problem. One thing that will help you is if you apply the same problem solving steps to each problem. Now, setting up the equation is going to be a little bit different for every problem. Organizing the information given in the question is going to be a little bit different for every problem. But if you can train yourself to go through this step by step, you'll, I think, have a little more success in getting these set up and solved. The first thing that you always need to do when you set about working a word problem is read carefully. Okay. When I read a word problem, I don't read it one time. I'll read it through once, and then I'll go back and I'll read it again, sentence by sentence, and sometimes phrase by phrase, and try to kind of translate that problem into your own words. If you can rewrite it into words that make a little more sense or a little more clear to you, it's going to be easier for you to follow through on this problem. So you can state the problem in your own words. And the more of this that you write down, the easier it is going to be for you when you go back and look at what you've done to figure out what the heck you did. The other thing you have to do in this same step is to decide what the variable represents. Wow, I think I just badly misspelled that. Let me try again. Okay, and again, write it down. That's very important. If you're going to let x be the length of the side of a rectangle, write down what it is, or in a picture show what x is representing, if x is the variable. The second step, you want to write any other unknown quantities in terms of your variable. So in many problems, there's more than one thing that you don't have an exact value for. You choose which one the variables are going to be representing, and then you have to kind of translate the other unknowns into phrases in terms of that variable. The third step is to write an equation. There's always going to be some relationship between the unknown quantities and maybe some known quantities in every problem, and that relationship is going to be what determines the equation you write. Sometimes it's an area formula that determines the equation. Sometimes it's other information that's specifically given the problem. Then the fourth step, and this might seem kind of obvious, but we're going to say it anyway, solve the equation. Now, simply solving the equation isn't going to be quite enough for step 4. This is a biggie. Answer the question. If you have solved the equation and you got W equals 10, you need to say what that means. If you have determined that W is the width of some rectangle or something like that, then you tell me the rectangle's width is 10. Often there's more than one unknown quantity that you have to figure out. You make sure that you answer the question. And then step 5, the last one, is one that gets left off a lot. Check the solution. Okay, what you just found, think about it. Does it make sense? All right, so you're checking the solution in your problem, which is not necessarily in the equation. you might have solved and gotten x is equal to 2, and that be the correct solution for your equation. But you go back and you look in the problem, reread the question again. Does x equal 2? Does that make sense in the context of that problem? And if you kind of train yourself to go about this, step 1, I'm going to read it, state things in my own words, decide what the variable represents. Sometimes drawing a picture helps. Not always, but sometimes that's very helpful, and having that picture there can help you know what equation to write. Solve the equation, answer the question. It is good practice to use complete sentences when you answer the question. Okay, but at least, use complete phrases. X equal 2 isn't enough. Tell me the width is 2, or whatever the situation is. And then look back at what you've got. Does your answer make sense? You can catch a lot of mistakes if you'll just take that last step and take a look at what you've got.